123-456-78-910, 123-456-78-910, 321, 123-456-78-910.
Good shit.
Cool, on set whenever you guys are ready. You guys ready?
Good to go? Okay.
My first name is Brent, B-R-E-N-T. Last name is Weisberg, W-E-I-S-B-E-R-G. I'm a spokesperson with the Salt Lake City Police Department. This morning, the Salt Lake City Police Department would like to provide our community an update on the two deadly shootings that have happened overnight. We want to stress to our community members that based on the information and based on the evidence that we've been able to gather during these two investigations, that these two shootings are not in any way connected. The first investigation started at 11:41 on Friday night when Salt Lake City received information about a shooting that happened near the area of 1045 East, 2100 South. That's in the Sugar House neighborhood. Our officers responded to the scene very quickly, and they found two people with critical injuries. One of those individuals was a 26-year-old man. He died on scene. The other individual who had critical injuries is a 38-year-old man. That man is at a local hospital this morning. He is in critical but stable condition. Based on what we know so far, there was an argument at that address, again, 1045 East, 2100 South. We are still trying to figure out what the exact argument was over, but we do know that there were several people involved in this argument. And at some point during the argument, the 26-year-old man is accused of taking out a firearm and shooting the 38-year-old man, again, critically injuring that 38-year-old man. After the shooting, our understanding is the argument continued, and a group of people, including a 30-year-old man, came up to the 26-year-old man and were able to get that gun away from the 26-year-old man. The 30-year-old man is accused of then taking that firearm and shooting the 26-year-old man, ultimately killing him on scene there. Based on the information we have been able to detain several individuals, including that 30-year-old man. Again, I want to stress that the motive of this shooting is still under investigation, and our homicide detectives have been working this case ever since they got on scene, talking with the involved parties, talking with witnesses, and also reviewing some of the evidence that they've been able to collect so far on scene. Based on this point, it appears again that this was over some sort of argument. We are really asking our community this morning for help. We are asking that anyone who has information on this case, particularly photos or videos of the moments leading up to, during, or after the shooting, to contact the Salt Lake City Police Department. At this point, there is no risk to our community. And then at about 18 minutes after we received that first 911 call of the shooting, again, that happened at 1045 East, 2100 South, we received more information about a second shooting. Again, I want to stress that these two shootings are not connected. The second shooting was reported at 11:59 Friday night. We received multiple 911 calls that there were gunshots, and then ultimately people reported that there was one person who had been shot in the area of 800 South Park Street. That is just north of Liberty Park here in Salt Lake City. Our officers arrived and found a 21-year-old man with critical injuries. He did die on scene despite multiple life-saving efforts by the first responders on scene. Based on what we know right now, the 21-year-old man and a person that he knows, a 53-year-old man, were outside. We believe that this happened in an area right next to a triplex where the individuals live. Based on what we know so far, that immediately after that shooting happened, we believe that that 53-year-old man went back inside his apartment inside the triplex. Our patrol officers were trying to do everything they could to communicate with that man. They surrounded the triplex. They were using their megaphones to try to order him to come out or give them any signs that he was inside. They did have some indicators that he was inside. There was no point at any time did he communicate with our officers. Ultimately, our officers did obtain a court-authorized search warrant, and with the assistance of the Salt Lake City Police Department SWAT team and our crisis negotiators, they continued those efforts for several hours to try to get this man to come out peacefully. Ultimately, our officers did enter the apartment, and they did find the 53-year-old man dead inside. At this point, we do believe that this was an isolated incident between these two individuals. There is no threat to our community, and again, our officers and our detectives are not currently looking for anybody associated to this shooting. Again, this shooting happened in the area of 800 South Park Street, just north of Liberty Park. And we're happy to take some questions now.
Do we know what the relationship was between the 26-year-old and the 38-year-old before shooting?
No, that's still part of our investigation. So with both of these shooting investigations, our detectives are going to put together a timeline. They want to figure out exactly who was involved. They want to figure out why everyone was where they were in the moments leading up to the shooting, and then ultimately after the shooting. We're trying to figure out what brought everyone together in both of these circumstances to piece everything together.
I saw that there might have been sort of like a dance club in that Sugar House area. Do you know if there's any sort of connection to that? Maybe they were coming out of that club or anything like that?
I don't have specific information on that. I do know that there were this was a large event. There were several people attending some sort of event. I don't know at which venue. Again, our ask this morning is that anyone who has information to please come forward in both of these cases. We believe that there are likely people who may have photos or video of the incident that happened in the Sugar House neighborhood. And then for the incident that happened just north of Liberty Park, we are asking that anyone who has doorbell cameras or home security cameras that may have captured anything to please review that. Again, that Sugar House shooting happened around 11:41 Friday night, and the shooting near Liberty Park happened just before midnight.
Let's say like bars and businesses in that Sugar House area, or the proprietors of those areas working with you?
So that's one of our things that our detectives are going to be doing. They've already started their canvass of the area in both locations, again, looking for any signs of video or anything that might help them with these investigations. That's one of the things that today in the world that we live in, there are a lot of public safety cameras. There are a lot of private cameras out there in our community. Those are often instrumental in our investigations. So our detectives are out canvassing the area this morning. They're looking for any evidence, and again, we're asking that anyone who has information on these two shootings to contact the Salt Lake City Police Department.
Only one person in custody on that first shooting?
So we have several people detained, and our officers are still trying to piece everything together. So again, we had the shooting in the Sugar House neighborhood. We have detained several people. At this point, our detectives are trying to sift everything together to determine whether or not there will be charges in this case. We will work with the district attorney's office as well. It is still too early at this point in this investigation to say whether or not that 30-year-old man will be charged with the shooting homicide. But it is still very early on in this investigation.
And did you determine a cause of death for the second shooting on the 58-year-old man?
Yeah, at this point we haven't been able to do that. In both of these cases, we're going to work with the medical examiner's office to confirm the cause and manner of the death. But based on the preliminary information, we do believe that a firearm was used in both cases.
Have you had previous incidents at the second shooting at that house?
Yeah, regarding the second scene location, again, that was in the area of 800 South Park Street. We do not have, to my knowledge, any immediate information that would suggest that we have involvement with these two individuals. However, based on what we've learned so far, the two individuals appear to have known each other.
And did you question were any other people associated with those two individuals?
I don't have any specific information about who our detectives have talked to. Again, we're asking that anyone who has information to please come forward. We know that as news starts to spread about this, community members, loved ones, friends will start to find out about this case. And if anyone has any information, we would like to hear from them. It's one of those things where even the smallest piece of information could really advance this investigation to help our detectives.
Did you use any other techniques to get into the house before? A neighbor mentioned a flashbang. Did you use any other techniques like that?
Yeah, so regarding that incident that happened at 800 South Park Avenue, Park Street rather, in that area just north of Liberty Park, our SWAT team did use several techniques to, again, try to communicate with this individual and to make sure that they were entering that apartment as safely as possible. We do know that they did use what is called a breaching device to make sure that they could have better accessibility into that apartment complex. Also, that helps them not only get into an area, but it also helps open up sight lines so officers and our SWAT officers can, they don't have to approach. With these situations, with these tactical situations, our goal is to resolve them as safely and as quickly as possible, but we want to be very methodical in our approach, and that's why oftentimes these situations take a significant amount of time to resolve. We want to do everything we can to gather as much information about the individual who we are trying to communicate, who are trying to safely get them into custody or to get the help that they need. So in this case, they were working on this case for several hours trying to establish contact with that individual.
Anything else for the public to know?
No, I would like to add that this is extraordinarily rare for Salt Lake City. Prior to today, our homicide rate for 2024 was down 40% compared to where we were in 2023 this time. So this is very unusual. I've talked to several people within our police department. No one can recall immediately within recent memory when we've had two homicides almost back to back. Again, we believe that the span from when that first shooting was reported from the second shooting was about 18 minutes. So this was a very big strain on our police department, and we want to acknowledge all of our officers, our detectives, our crime lab technicians who responded. This essentially was an all hands on deck situation. We had officers who were working the Friday afternoon shift. They ended up having to stay over to help with this situation to ensure that we could continue our operations throughout the morning, Saturday morning, to make sure that any other call for service received the attention it needed. So really a testament to the women and men of the Salt Lake City Police Department who stepped up when there were these two critical incidents in our community. To my knowledge, no. Fortunately, we have the ability to scale our resources very quickly, and that is something that we are fortunate here at the Salt Lake City Police Department, that when there is a critical incident or when there are multiple critical incidents in our city, we have the ability to scale up our staffing very quickly and to make sure that we try to lessen any impact to the public safety operations that we have here in the city.